For centuries, the great earthwork of Benin was simply part of the landscape, but by the end of the 19th century, the world around the kingdom had changed. Across Africa, European powers were competing for territory, trade, and political control. Britain was expanding its influence across West Africa, and Benin was becoming harder to ignore. The kingdom had maintained its independence and controlled its own trade. British officers wanted greater access. Benin rulers wanted to remain in control of their own affairs. The tension grew. Then came January 1897. A British delegation led by Acting Consul General James Phillips traveled towards Benin City. The Oba had warned that important royal ceremonies were taking place and asked that the visit be postponed. But the delegation continued. Before reaching the city, it was attacked by Benin forces. 7 members of the British party were killed, including James Phillips. Only 2 survived. For Britain, the incident became the justification for military actions. Within weeks, a large expedition was assembled, and Benin was about to face an enemy unlike any it had encountered before. The British forces arrived with modern rifles, machine guns, artilleries, and rockets. Benin's warriors fought back, but they were facing the military technology of an industrial empire. In February 1897, British forces captured Benin City. What followed was the destruction and looting of the capital. The royal palace was burnt, shrines and compounds were looted, thousands of objects were removed from the palace and its storerooms. Among them were significant brass plaques, carved ivories, royal objects, and ceremonial pieces that became known around the world as the Benin bronzes. The Oba of Orame was captured and eventually sent to exile. The independent Kingdom of Benin had been broken, and the great earthworks entered a new chapter. There were no dramatic final battles between British and the world. Their decline happened slowly. Rain eroded exposed earth. Vegetation covered the embankments. Roads and later constructions cut through ancient trenches. Because they were made from soil rather than stone, sections could disappear without announcing what they once were. A ruined stone monument can be recognized immediately. An earthwork can look like an ordinary hill, but beneath that hill could be centuries of human labor, and modern archaeology is helping reveal what the landscape still holds. Excavations around the historic palace area have uncovered evidence of buildings, craft production, trade, and destruction associated with the 1897 invasion. Soil can preserve clues. Burnt layers can reveal destruction. Objects can tell us how people lived and worked. And the arrangement of the landscape can reveal how communities were organized. But the earthworks around Benin City were only part of a much larger system. Across the rainforest zone were numerous settlement enclosures connected by extensive earthworks. UNESCO documentation estimates the border network at approximately 16,000 kilometers in combined extent. But this wasn't one continuous wall stretching 16,000 kilometers across Nigeria. It was a network of interconnected earthworks built around different settlements and communities. Together, they created an extraordinary engineering landscape, and something on that scale required more than physical strength. It required organization. Workers had to excavate enormous quantities of soil. Communities had to coordinate labor. Different settlements had to maintain their sections, and successive rulers had to preserve the system across generations. The earthworks therefore reveal something deeper about Benin itself. They weren't simply defensive structures, they helped define settlement, regulate movement, and shape the relationships between communities and their environments. Then came the 20th century. Benin City expanded, roads were constructed, neighborhoods grew, buildings appeared across the areas that had once been occupied by ancient earthworks. Some sections survived, others were damaged or destroyed, and sometimes people simply didn't know what they were looking at. That became one of the greatest threats to the surviving landscape. Not an invading army, not a foreign empire, but modern development. Once an ancient earthwork disappears beneath a road or building, recovering its original form becomes incredibly difficult. Yet, the story isn't entirely one of loss. Researchers are now combining archaeology, historical records, environmental evidence, and local knowledge to reconstruct Benin's past. And the discoveries are changing how we understand the kingdom. The earthworks reveal engineering, the palace's ruins reveal political power, archaeological remains reveal crafts, trade, and everyday life. And the objects taken from Benin reveal an artistic tradition whose sophistication challenged old assumptions about African civilizations. Then, there are the Benin bronzes. After 1897, thousands of objects from Benin were scattered across museums and private collections across the world. Some were sold, some were donated, others were retained by members of the expedition. Many ended up thousands of kilometers from the people who created them. Today, their history has become part of a much larger conversation about cultural heritage and restitution. Some institutions have begun returning objects to Nigeria, and with every return, another piece of Benin's material history comes home. But while these objects traveled across the world, the earthworks remained here, some hidden beneath vegetation, some surviving beside modern roads, others reduced to barely visible traces. Yet, those traces are enough to tell us something remarkable. Benin was not simply a kingdom with impressive buildings and beautiful artworks. It was a society capable of transforming an enormous landscape through organized, sustained labor. And perhaps that is the greatest legacy of the Great Wall of Benin. Not one wall, not one ruler, but evidence of what an entire society could accomplish together. There are still questions researchers cannot completely answer. How were the different earthworks planned? How did communities coordinate across such a vast network? How the system changed as Benin expanded, and how much of it survives today? We don't have every answer, but perhaps that's what makes the story so fascinating. Because the Great Wall of Benin isn't just something that belongs to the past, it is a landscape that continues to reveal itself to history. So the next time you see an unusual ridge or depression in the ground around southern Nigeria, look twice. It might be more than Earth. It could be part of the greatest engineering achievement created in pre-industrial Africa. And beneath it may still lie the traces of people who built it. Because history sometimes doesn't disappear, it simply waits beneath our feet. This is Demystified, where forgotten kingdoms rise again and ancient legends refuse to die. If this story made you see Benin's history a little differently, don't let it end here. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear the story, and subscribe to Demystified. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next journey into Africa's forgotten past. Because there are still kingdoms beneath the soil, stories hidden in the archives, and history waiting to be heard. Here on Demystified, we bring them back into the light. Until next time, stay curious.